I googled my own name for fun. The first result was a missing persons report filed in 1998. My name is Sarah Miller. I'm 28 years old. I have a boring job, a small apartment, and a life that is completely, predictably normal. Or so I thought. The face in the grainy, digitized photo was undeniably mine. Younger, maybe 4 or 5 years old, with a missing front tooth and wide, terrified eyes. The name listed was different Emily Carter. The report said she vanished from a playground in a small town I'd never even heard of. It mentioned a distinguishing mark, a small, crescent-shaped scar on her left knee. I have that scar. I'd always been told I got it falling off my bike. My whole life suddenly felt like a movie playing in reverse, and I was noticing all the scenes that never made sense. The first was the photo albums. My childhood was well documented, but only from my 7th birthday onward. Before that, nothing. Not a single baby picture. My parents had a well-rehearsed story. A basement flood had destroyed all the early albums. It was a tragic, but believable explanation. I never questioned it. The second clue was a hospital visit when I was 10. I broke my arm and my parents were weirdly frantic. Not just worried, but panicked. They insisted on paying for everything in cash, a huge amount of money, and refused to go through our insurance. My dad got into a hushed, angry argument with the admissions clerk. He kept saying it was a privacy issue. At the time, I just thought my parents were strange about money. Now, I realize they were terrified of creating a paper trail, of putting the name Sarah Miller into a system where it might get flagged. The final, most haunting piece was a memory I had buried. I was about 8 at a family reunion. An elderly great aunt I barely knew was looking at me, her eyes clouded with confusion. She called me by the wrong name. She called me Emily. My mom's hand immediately clamped down on her arm hard. My mom smiled a tight, cold smile and corrected her, her voice dangerously cheerful. She told her the dementia must be getting worse. The old woman looked scared, and the subject was never mentioned again. I had forgotten all about it. Until now. I printed the missing persons report. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the paper. I drove to my parents' house, the house I grew up in. They were in the kitchen making tea. They looked so normal. I laid the paper on the kitchen table between them. My mom looked at it and the color drained from her face. My dad's shoulders slumped, as if a weight he'd been carrying for 20 years had finally crushed him. The story they told me wasn't one of a kidnapping. It was a rescue. My real name is Emily Carter. My biological father was a violent, dangerous man. My real mother was trapped. One day, she showed up on their doorstep, battered and terrified with me in her arms. She begged them, her childhood friends, to take me, to hide me, to give me a life where he could never find me. They agreed. They moved across the country the next day, changed my name, and raised me as their own. The missing persons report was filed by my biological father. He wasn't a grieving parent, he was a monster searching for his property. My real mother vanished a few months later, and they never heard from her again. They assumed the worst. I sat in that kitchen, a stranger in my own life. My parents weren't kidnappers, they were heroes. And my entire existence was a lie, but it was a lie forged from love and protection. The mystery of the girl on the screen was solved. But as I looked at the two people who had risked everything for me, I realized a new one was just beginning, the mystery of who I was supposed to be now.